I did the whole life and it didn't have sound. So here it goes again. 9 years ago. 9 years ago, in 2015, I was realizing the dream of my life. The dream of my life, I always wanted to be an actress. I wanted to be on the big screen, on the little screen, on the stage. I wanted to have people's attention and give people's experiences of different realities and emotions, and I wanted to have influence and power so I could save the sugar slaves in the jungle of Peru. I wanted to be somebody. I wanted to be somebody. And I was realizing that dream, and I was actually being the lead actress of a movie that was going to be in the movie theaters. That was actually in the movie theaters. And the way that I got to do that, it was mind-blowing. At that period of time in my life, I was also exploring esoteric practices. I was looking into how actually get things that I wanted, and one of the things that came up when I Google how to get what you want, it was visualization. So I started doing visualization at that time and visualizing myself on the big screen as the lead actress of a movie. And 3 days later, I go in the internet again and I look for castings. And I find one casting. And I go into the casting and they say you're hired on the spot. And you're going to be the lead actress of a scary movie, of a horror movie, suspense horror movie. And I was like, yes, super elated. My dreams are coming true. I'm going to be on the big screen. This should be the happiest moments of my life. This is what I've been wanting my whole life. I went against all reasoning, all different trial and error of my parents wanting to get me into college and get a normal career that will make money. And I quit several times and I just wanted this. And they were supporting me on it because, well, okay. And in that period of time, as I was doing these practices, I was starting to have mystical experiences. I didn't know they were mystical experiences. I just knew something weird was happening. Like, I didn't have that language. Now I do. But at the time I didn't. So I was just experiencing stuff that were happening to me, and I didn't know how to explain them. I was going to deep trance meditation states with this binaural beats music that I will listen to, and I start feeling like I am getting sucked into a black hole. And vibrational sound started coming into my ears and just sucking me into the black hole. And I will feel like I am getting sucked in and I'm gonna die. So I will feel fear and I will snap out of it. I was having like this rush of energy coming from the coccyx of my spine all the way up to my crown and just shooting shoo, shoo. And I was just feeling this like sensational, almost like flux of orgasmic energy. And at the time, I didn't know I was having a Kundalini awakening. Now I know it was a Kundalini awakening, and that's what it's called. But at the time, I didn't know. So I was just having these experiences, and I just trying to deal with it the best I can. I'm having a sleep paralysis, and I'm having lucid dreams, and I'm doing the movie, and I'm having relationship problems. I'm not feeling happy with the movie because I am criticizing myself throughout the whole process. How good I am doing it, how pretty am I looking, how well others are recognizing me, how good this movie is going to be, why other people is not saying good things about this, why there nobody is recognizing me that I'm doing this right now when I'm doing it. And the relationship problems of this person that I knew in my body, it wasn't healthy for me. But I didn't know how to articulate it. I didn't know how to make the decision. I didn't know how to deal with it. So I just believed, because throughout the whole relationship, they told me nobody's gonna love you like me, while not really caring for me. Because they didn't know. They didn't know how to care for me. And I didn't know how to care for me. I thought I did, because I had a good mask. I was really good at performing. I was a good actress. I was really good at performing. I was really good at saying everything is good, everything is okay, everything is great. Oh yes, look at me, I'm the cool one. Yeah. Let's go, like, do something. Let's just hang out. Let's just be. Let's just play. Let's just, like, yeah, let's be successful, and all of the things that we say to ourselves. And now all of that is cool. I'm not saying that we shouldn't do that. It's just I wasn't doing those things from, like, true inner desire. I was doing those things because I wanted to distract myself. I wanted validation, and I wanted to be somebody and be recognized. So while all this is happening, and I just don't know how to deal with it, I just crashed. I crashed into a really bad depression. And I go into seclusion for a month, isolated, just looking information, not knowing what to do with my life anymore, because what I thought my whole life, what I thought I wanted my whole life, which was to be an actress, going against everybody, so I could be that. It didn't make me feel like what I thought it will make me feel. So while I was doing these practices, I didn't know that while you start doing these practices, you actually become more self-aware of yourself. So all my unresolved trauma from the past, a childhood of violence, a childhood of neglect, a childhood of not having a stable household with two parents, and my ancestral trauma, how the energetic dynamics that my ancestors carry with them, not just from the psychological perspective, from like the psychological influence, but from the DNA influence. I was being awakened to that. So I had all of this inside of me that I was now aware of, but I didn't know how to deal with. So I was just, I'm going to totally avoid it. I'm gonna totally avoid it. I'm just gonna seclude myself, sleep all day, smoke some weed. I'm just gonna smoke. Hopefully it will go away. I was having panic attacks and I became suicidal. But I was still not asking for help. I didn't want to be judged. I didn't want to feel the shame of not being okay. I didn't really trust anybody. I didn't even really trust my parents. Because I was built throughout my whole life to feel like a victim from all my relationships. Because at some point was like a victim of violence and neglect. And I had, sexual trauma in the middle of that. So now I'm just gonna avoid it. It's gonna go away. And it didn't go away. It got worse. But at some point I was like, I feel hungry. I was secluded for a month. I felt hungry. So I got out of the room. I wasn't eating. I wasn't showering. I was self-abandoning. So I go to the supermarket that is close to the place where I live at the time. And as I walk there is a big window. It's not actually often that you see big windows that are like at the first floor of the house and at the front of the house. That's not something common in Peru. I'm from Peru. But it was there. So I look at it and I see myself and I don't recognize myself. My facial structures are off. I look crazy. I look like a homeless person. And I knew I needed help. So I called my dad for help. And I said, Dad, I need some help. I don't know what to do. And my dad didn't know what to do either. But he tried to help. And he took me to a psychologist, psychotherapist, and that didn't really help. So he said, go and take a break. Go and take a break. The earring came off. Go and take a break. Go with your mom and to the United States and just forget about all of this. Just take a break. Just relax. And I was okay. I'm gonna take a break and relax in the United States. I didn't care about anything at that time, so okay. I come to the United States and my mom says, why do you don't do some yoga? Yoga, I've heard, helps people with depression. So I was like, okay. And I started doing some yoga. And I started feeling better. But I wasn't well yet. It was like it helped me to be better in the moment, but it wasn't changing me. It wasn't really transforming me. And just to give you an idea of how bad I was, one time with my ex-husband, I was really triggered by him because he's a very intelligent man. And I thought of myself as a stupid person that didn't have intelligence. So we were on a touristic place in Mexico. And I was telling him about something that I found out about the place, and he says, no, that's not it. And he corrects me. And then Googles it and shows me. And I felt so triggered. I grabbed a bottle in public, in the middle of the touristic center. And I started hitting myself on the head. And say, you're stupid, you're so stupid, it's because I'm stupid, I am so sorry, I'm just stupid, I'm just stupid. That's how bad I was. That's not me anymore. But that's how much I wanted to avoid the pain. So even if I now was like feeling a little bit better with the practices, I wasn't really transforming at the core. So I was like, fuck it. I'm just going to be done with this. So I Google how to kill yourself without pain. How to kill yourself without pain. Because that's what I wanted. I wanted to be without pain. So let me just be done with it. Kill it. It's inside of me. Let's kill it. And I am feeling some sadness as I'm saying this. I feel compassion for that me. And I got my answer from Google. Google said that I could kill myself without pain. And it gave me the process. So in that moment I have the answer. What are you gonna do now? You can't avoid it anymore. You know you can't be without pain. So I had to make a decision. To kill myself without pain, or to learn how to live without pain. How do I do that? And I remember reading in some of my studies of yoga in a book about compassion. And the book talked about these Buddhist monks, of how these Buddhist monks feel so much compassion and they live in joy. And they don't need anything else besides their compassionate, joyful heart. I mean, they can do it, I can do it, right? Right. So it took me still, a couple of years to really figure it out. And the reason is because I still had some of the self-sabotage behaviors, which was, I can do it myself. So I was gathering information in books, in talks, in videos with people around me that they didn't really know about the subject. So things started to change for me once I got teachers. Real teachers. And I started to make progress. And also, when I started applying practices that I needed. Because I was applying practices that I did not need it. That maybe I got out something out of it. But if I'm honest, if I had a teacher pointing it out, because that's only the role of the teacher. The role of the teacher is to point out. And something that is not really talked about a lot, which I do think is very important to talk about, is that each of us needs different practices. When I started my spiritual awakening, I didn't need visualization. I needed trauma integration. I didn't need to manifest nothing. I needed to know how to let go of my self-hate. And maybe the manifestation later. And throughout my journey, things like that. And this is why I do this. Because the clarity needed with the internet is so obvious. And I feel gratitude. I feel happy too. I feel happy to be here. I feel happy to be here. And being able to be here with you. One of the teachings that I do believe is important to share from the Tantric tradition, which is my base tradition. I have other tools, especially when it comes to transformation. I have other tools that have to do with trauma integration and interpersonal biology. But the spiritual practices are, for me, the thing that I just feel fascination by. So the teaching is, if you're being called to certain information, certain practice, certain entity, certain teacher, it's because there is something for you there. Even if it is just one thing, there is something for you there. And what I think is crazy, when I was actually going through the whole self-sabotage process completely and crashing down into suicidal mode, right before that, I remember going to another supermarket. There's a lot of markets in Peru. Going to another, not supermarket. Supermarkets here are different than supermarkets in Peru. Like market, it's like a farmer's market almost. A farmer's market where they had these little books about Indian traditions. And I bought this book. It was Krishna. Different Krishnas. Different entities. Which is a whole conversation in itself, because a lot of people, especially if you come from a similar background that I come from, which is the Christian tradition, we can have conflicting conditioning of being even open to listen to the real teachings about how these entities work, because they're archetypes. But I was being pulled all the way since, I started into where I'm at now. And it's gonna keep going. It has been so much work for me. So much work. Even doing this type of videos. I will, in the past, I will try to be on the camera and I would just hate myself. I couldn't really speak or allow myself to be seen in the camera. And that got on the way of a lot of things. Because if you are not good, if you don't have you, like the real you, everything else is just a lie. Everything else is a lie. If you don't have you. The real you. Not from the outside. Not the you that is wanting to get from the outside. But the one that lives and creates and has everything from the inside. That is the real you. So now that I'm here, this is why I do this work. Because I had quite a bit of a journey that I'm not sharing all the details because that will be a lot and it will be disorganized and it won't get the message across. And what's the message? The message is all of us are consciousness. How much of us can we thus see and really be liberated from all mind-created suffering? Without avoiding and following our desire. So we can really have what we were meant to have in this lifetime. And we can really be, not want to be somebody, but really be. Just be. Just be. In the moment, just be. Who we were meant to be in this lifetime. And we can know truth. I feel fascination for that. Awakening is a spectrum. You're asleep and you're totally awake. Totally awake, liberated of my created suffering. So you are liberated, free to be, have, do where you were meant to be, have, do. Sleep in a prison, performing, really knowing yourself, avoiding, lying. Because you want yourself to prove that you are somebody. In all the different ways that we do that. Because we do that in all different ways. Not just in the way that happened for me, but in the way of like, I'm in a marriage for 13 years. And I am suffering. And I'm not looking for help. And I'm just avoiding it as much as I'm just avoiding my part as much as I can. I'm avoiding my truth. I'm avoiding doing something. I'm just avoiding it. I'm avoiding actually having the hard conversation. I'm avoiding looking into what is truth and being honest with myself and others. of what's the state that I really am at. Because if we can be honest with the state that we really are at, we can get out of that state. We can actually grow out of that state. And that's why I do the work that I do, especially with women. Because for us, our nervous system is also different. So the practices that help us to awaken are different than the practices that will help. First of all, it's actually individual, right? That's the first thing that we need to have to be clear. But then there is, in my experience, there is also a gender tailor design. Not all of the practices, but there's some practices that do better and are better suited for the female nervous system. Because we're just different. We're different than men. That also took me time to find those practices. And this is why I want to share. I want to share, I want to give, I want to have you in my containers. I want to keep going into, hey Dana, keep going into this journey. Because it's just starting. We are creating here, me and my business partner, we're creating a whole center where we want to bring the whole community together in person and also online. I am dedicated, devoted to this, regardless of the money, like my parents have conditioned me, or did, because, you know. But it is also important to invest. And most of us don't want to invest because we're looking for the return of investment. Hey, Anne. And a lot of the time, that return of investment is priceless. There's no price for the benefit that you get of getting closer to a space, a practice, a teacher, teaching, a place that is pulling you, pulling you, pulling you. Okay. I feel happy I was pulled to this space here with you today. And that's just it. Thank you so much for tuning in. And I look forward to see you around. Mwah.